Have you ever read a book that made you want to cry? Or one that left you thinking about it for days, maybe even weeks afterwards? What if I told you that it's not just the story that makes a book unforgettable? It's really all in the emotions behind it. If your writing feels flat or your readers aren't connecting with your characters, you might be missing something crucial. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about the book, The Emotional Craft of Fiction by Donald Maass. And this book isn't about plotting or world building. It's not your usual book about writing. This one is about how to make your readers feel something. If you can do that, you can make your stories matter to a lot more people and make it unforgettable. And before we begin, let's just make it clear that emotions should not be confused with other story elements such as plot, setting, dialogue. These are basic mechanisms when it comes to developing a narrative, but emotions is something else. So today we're going to talk about emotions because this is what this book is really, really all about. The first thing that Maass makes clear is that readers don't just want to read about emotions. They want to experience them. And, that's a huge distinction. You can tell readers that a character is sad, or you can make them feel the sadness that the character is feeling deep in their gut. An example of this could be that you write John is devastated because he lost his job, or you write that John sat in his car long after the parking lot has emptied, gripping the steering wheel tightly so that his knuckle whitened. The severance check laid in an unopened package on the passenger seat. And if you look at these two examples, you can see that the second one, that one shows a lot more emotion, both from what John is feeling, but also it creates emotion within me as a reader. And when it comes to expanding emotions within your own writing, try to pick a moment in your story where your protagonist feels something deeply. It can be joy, fear, regret, anger. Pinpoint the exact moment and write it down. Then try to dig deeper. You should ask your character what more they're feeling. Write that down too, and then ask them again and again. This will create a sort of layer of depth when it comes to emotions, which will make it feel a lot more real, because usually we're not just sad, we're also disappointed, but also something more. Next up, you should explore the emotions even further. So turn them into an analogy. How can you make them feel more vivid? Can you make them into a moral judgment? Is it right or wrong to feel this way? Consider the different alternatives. Also ask yourself, what if they felt something different? Then justify their feelings and make sure that the emotions in themselves make sense for the character that you've written, because different characters would react in different ways. You have to make sure that you know about your characters and what they are feeling. And also ask yourself why this emotion makes sense for them. And then take a step back, look at the scene and see what the character, if there's anything they notice that others wouldn't. And is there any sort of detail or stuff that you could add to heighten the emotional state? Try this in your own writing and see how it transforms your scenes. So in recap, lesson number 1 is about stop telling readers what the characters are feeling and instead trying to show them with the body language and actions and intriguing thoughts. Layer your characters' emotions. Or like Maass writes, find what gave you the emotion, what the action was that gave you the excitement, then write it down, making it clear so the reader will see it too and have the same feeling as you had. And the second big takeaway from this book is about deep characterization. We've all heard the advice, give your character a strong goal and make them relatable. But Maass, he takes this a step further because he says that compelling characters have a hidden emotional depth and things that even they don't fully understand about themselves. And I think this is such a great advice. So think about your fictional favorite character, the ones that really, really stick to you. They will say that they want one thing, but deep down, they'll be craving something else. This will make them a lot more complex. So take Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games, for example. On the surface, she just wants to survive. But emotionally, she's struggling with guilt and fear of vulnerability. She also has this unwillingness to let people get too close to her. So that's what makes her much more interesting, much more three-dimensional, if you ask me. And here's something that you can try. You can ask yourself, what is my character lying to themselves about? What is it that they think they want versus what they truly need? And if you can figure this out, your characters will feel a lot more real, a lot more complex. And in Donald Maass's own words, skillful authors play against the expected feelings. They go down several emotional layers in order to bring up emotions that will catch readers by surprise. And in the book, there's an idea of that you can regenerate your writing by focusing on what your characters are feeling, and more importantly, how you can make readers feel something. Because that's what it's all about, basically. Characters, plot setting, they may not be real, but the emotions that the readers feel, that you evoke in your readers, that's what truly matters. And that's the experience that your readers are actually after. So if you can create a world with characters and scene that makes your audience feel something, they will connect. Not just to the story, but to you as a writer. Lesson number 3 is that the best moments in the story, they aren't just the big dramatic ones. They can actually be the small moments, the quiet moments. Sometimes that's the most, emotionally powerful. So if your character is making coffee alone in the morning, staring at an empty chair that used to be occupied, that can evoke a lot of emotion. Or why not a long pause in a conversation where everything is unsaid? And that makes it louder than words. These moments will add emotional depth without feeling forced. Or as Donald Maass writes, dry information is only dry when it doesn't mean anything to anyone. What gives information emotional effect is not the fact that it conveys, but the personal significance it holds for someone who understands it. So think about a scene in your story. Does it have the space to breathe? Are you letting the emotions unfold naturally? Or are you just rushing from plot point to plot point to plot point? So a trick is that after you write a scene, go back and look for the places where you can add small but meaningful details and, a flicker of hesitation or a nervous habit, a tiny action that reveals something deeper about what your characters are feeling. These little touches, they can be super powerful, just as powerful as big dramatic moments. Now let's talk about subtext. This is one of the biggest mistakes that writers make. They are usually too obvious when it comes to their emotions. So if your characters constantly say what you expected they're going to say and feel what you expected they're going to feel, they're not going to feel real, because honestly, in real life, we say a lot of things that we don't mean. We will mask our emotions. We will hide our feelings. We will do things that doesn't make sense in the real world. And you should add this into the books as well. So for example, imagine 2 characters who are in love but afraid to admit it. A weak scene would have them say, I love you, but I'm scared. That's direct, but it's really, really boring. So a stronger version would be that one character brushes a strand of hair from the other one's face and then quickly pulls away their hand. Maybe they force a smile and say, you should get some rest, or something like that. In that moment, the reader will feel everything they're not saying. And great writers, they trust the readers to pick up on the subtext. So you should do that too. So instead of making your characters spell out their emotions, let the readers do some of the work themselves. It's far more engaging that way. All right. Fine. This is the final takeaway that I had from the book, and that is that your story will leave an impact. So you have to make your readers feel something. And think about the last book that really stuck with you. What was the moment that hit the hardest? For me, a few days ago, I finished reading The Black Witch, and that one really, really stuck with me because it's such a complex story, and It also has a lot of undertones about racism and big important questions that we sometimes don't discuss and we don't always see as much in fantasy books. So that one, it really, really hooked me, because the way the world unfolded and like the character, when she started to discovering these horrible, horrible things that were happening, that made me as a reader also, it opened up my eyes in a very, very emotional and strong way. It was so cool. And the thing here is, it wasn't the climax or the plot twist that was the most enthralling things. It was the small moments of realization. So that's what made the book work for me. And you have to make your readers feel something as well. So as you write, ask yourself, what emotions do I want my readers to experience? Am I creating moments that will make them feel something rather than just observe what is happening in the story? If you can do this, this will make your story unforgettable. All right, let's wrap this up. The Emotional Craft of Fiction is one of those books that completely changed the way I think about my writing. It taught me a lot when it comes to writing a lot more emotional books. So, it's not just what happens in the story, it's about how I can make the readers feel about my stories. And here's the challenge for you. Try to take a scene from your current project and look through the lens of emotions. Look to see if you're showing the feelings instead of telling. And are your characters complex enough? Are they layered? Is there subtext? Make sure that the emotions weigh through so that your story can become as good as they can. And if you find this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Please drop a comment about the best book that you've read on storytelling. I'm going to keep on doing vlogs about books I've read on writing and what I learned from them. So please let me know what your recommendations are, and I will just keep on reading and keep on talking about them. And if you're curious about other books that I've read on reading, there's a link to the playlist in the description box. I hope you found this video helpful. Let's talk soon. Bye.